Hi everyone, I'm recording another video again. Just recorded this one. Why I don't play Worlds. And now I'm already recording another one. Anyway, this one. I had this one planned for quite a while. Regarding why an international community of this game is impossible. And if not impossible, it already has been proven recently that it is really hard or unlikely to be possible to do at all. And why do I say that? Well, recently we've seen InnoGames push to make the .NET Discord server be the official international Discord server for Tribal Wars. That was their goal. When I first had this video planned, I didn't even have that change be made. This video has been in my mind since at least December last year. The idea for this video. That's when I have the notes for it. When they are from, and I'm not sure when they started making the community managers move to the .NET forum, to the .NET server, but it was more recently than that. So, first of all, to do this video correctly, I will first talk about what I wanted to talk about when I first made the notes for this video, and then in the end I will go through the .NET Discord server and talk about why it has become a big failure. Basically, that's what I'm gonna do in this video. So let's get right into it, shall we? Well, my first thought about coming here and talking about why an international community is impossible is that you may potentially think or ask me, why would an international community be needed? Why would it even be needed? And that might be something you asked yourself when you first saw the title of the video. But, well, that's the first thing that came to my mind, at least. I'm not sure if anyone thought of that. But my quick answer to this is, first of all, sure, the game is divided in markets and in different servers, but some are just bigger than others. One player might have all they need if they simply stick to playing on the, I don't know, on the German server, if they are German, or on the Polish server, because the server is really big. It has everything. Not really, though. It doesn't even have speeds anymore. But anyway, there's always something lacking. That's my point. And even smaller servers, that's even more notable. If you look at, for example, the IT server or the GR server, you might even have tribes from there that feel like the server is too easy or something like that, and might instead want to try playing a world on another server for shits and giggles, basically. And well, having an international community really allows for people to make those choices, really allows for people to know what's going on in the entire world of Tribal Wars. Let's say they now, for example, also did one event of Ask the Dev, like Q&A with devs, and each of the servers submitted questions, and then the devs answered those questions on a staged channel on the Discord server of the .NET server. And I do think the idea is good, and without an international server, this is just something that is not possible to do. I mean, it would be possible, I guess. You could do it on YouTube and just have people join on it, but it's completely different. Like this, it's definitely much better organized, and I definitely think the idea is good. However, the execution and the adherence from players to it, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, in general, I really do believe that having an international community is needed, especially if we want to make the game more competitive. Because, well, you have that in other kinds of games as well. Just for example, matches between, like I don't know. I'm thinking about football here. You have the national teams Just like Tribal Wars, you could have the national teams and make them play against each other. And if you have an international community, if you have all these people put together in one single place, it is much more likely that players will push for these things and will actually push for what they believe is better for the game, and will help the developers actually get to know what everyone generally thinks should be the future of the game, which is not something devs and the people above are really shown at all. If they are not looking at um, what am I saying? If they are not looking at what the players are saying in general, like internationally, and comparing different ideas between servers as well. And the international community allows for all of that. Now, let's move on to why it's just not possible. And I have a few reasons for that I thought about. Then I will talk about my own attempt with the Discord server, the speed server, and then I will move on onto the analysis, onto talking about the .NET server. So first of all, the people just don't want it. The people above. Or so I thought, right? This was the point that I had when I first wrote this, because I really did believe that the people above would be the first ones to be against something like this, since they don't seem that big of a fan when it comes to having people know what goes on in other servers. I mean, this is quite obvious in the PT server, for example, but not only in the PT server. I'm talking about PT obviously because it's the one I mostly know about. But even in other servers, I saw, for example, a guy making some topics around the world regarding the Polish World 200 and inviting people to go play it. I'm sure it's still running, the world. We can look at it. But it was meant to be a big world. I mean, it makes total sense. It's a big number. It makes all the sense that it would be a special world of some sort. So they tried to just more or less recruit people from other servers to come in and play the world. And most of those topics were just deleted. In most of the servers, actually. Which doesn't make any sense, because, well, you might have some people, instead of playing in your server, they're playing on another server, but the reality is that the money still goes to InnoGames. And potentially, InnoGames could even make more money off of that, because these players that switched to another server don't have premium in that server. They didn't farm for 20 worlds to have premium there. So they might have to buy premium, and well, even, like, if anything, that would never be a negative thing, it would be a positive thing. So, I'm honestly surprised that they ever decided to make this an international server. It is still really fragmented and really split between communities, but well, it's definitely a start. It's definitely a start, but it goes against what I see the community managers doing. That is just reducing basically all types of exposure to foreign servers within national servers, which is ridiculous in my opinion, because of what I've explained. But it's something that I do see, and I still see being done today. There's some exceptions, for example, servers of the same language. If I go on the PT server, I can see a lot of references to the BR server, for example. But they also have a different relation, because the moderators are the same, the support team is the same. But it really does seem that some support teams are really afraid of losing their players to other servers, because their players discover that the other servers are just better. Stuff like that. The other thing that I have here is the language barrier. It's hard to come up with an international community because people don't all talk the same language. It's the same argument I make towards merging all the Tribal Wars servers into one. A lot of people think that would be good, to just put all the players onto the .NET server instead. I think that would be really bad, because you just reduce the possibilities of connection between players. Like you have a random Romanian player, you have a Dutch player. They will not speak the same language. I mean, they might even speak English. Sure, the Dutch person is more likely to speak English than the Romanian one, and this is not racism. It's facts. Go look at it. I'm sure you could find some data that proves that. Anyway, I'm not gonna go that route. That's not my goal here. But you know what I'm talking about. It's in general harder to bet on people all speaking the same language. Like for example, in the PT server, a lot of people just don't speak English at all, and on the BR server even less. So if we were to just throw all of those people into a server where all that is spoken is English, it would be over. They would likely lose their interest on the game, especially because probably the most important part of the game is just the people you play with and having a community and a group of friends, right? And if you just throw people at a server with a different language that they don't comprehend, that might be a problem. But I also don't necessarily think they did bad because they made a category for each one of the servers. There's a few problems with that. For example, if you are both on the .NET community and on the Turkish community, you will get pinged for the community managers by the community managers for game updates and events twice, basically. So you will read announcements about it in Turkish and in English. So that's something that is done badly. But well, in the end, I do think it is not bad to split people by categories, which is what I did as well. But yeah, I do think that language barrier still is something that plays a big part on it. Also, a big fact is just that people are old. People are old in this game, and most of them don't even know what the Discord is. And that's also what makes any type of Discord community really hard to move forward with, because people just don't use it. People just don't know how it works even. People might join the server and they, as I said, in the .NET server, for example, there are different servers, different categories of chats for different servers. And someone who is not very knowledgeable when it comes to how Discord works might just join in and see English be spoken and be like, what the fuck, I don't speak this shit, and get the fuck out of Discord even. So it doesn't really allow players to fully know how it functions. I guess, if anything, Eno could maybe try to teach players how to use Discord, because once they are able to do that, if they make it so the players are constantly using Discord, then they can way more easily reach them, at least than through the forum, because nowadays, as you all know, it's very rare that someone even uses the forum. It depends. Some communities use the forum more, and I'm glad, but in most communities, the forum is not something that is very used. So yeah, that is a barrier. People are just old and don't really know about Discord. That's a really big barrier that I also encountered. The other barrier is that if you try to unite people too much, it's basically impossible, because people play in different ways in different markets. I mean, just look at the .de server having Tampermonkey scripts be allowed, while everywhere else it's basically a sin and you should be killed for using Tampermonkey. It's really different how each server manages their own player base, basically. Even though there has been a really big attempt recently at sort of converging all of the servers, at least is what it seems to me, which makes them lose a bit of their identity, in my opinion. There should be things where it's all the same, I agree. But just assuming that everything should be the same doesn't seem right to me. I really do think that instead of, for example, just blocking the Tampermonkey script from being used on .de for it to converge with other servers, I really do believe that like all the servers that are allowed everywhere should just be legal everywhere. Like there shouldn't be different script rules in between servers. It should be just all the same. If you can use this script on .NET, you can use this script on .de or elsewhere. It doesn't really make much sense that it's not like that, because most of the bans happen through an anti-cheat, and well, if the anti-cheat doesn't detect that thing, and if it doesn't work automatically, why not just make it legal everywhere? There is not much of a reason, in my opinion, to not make tools that make the game easier and more accessible legal everywhere. It doesn't make much sense. But I'm completely going out of the topic here. I'm talking about why international community is impossible. But in general, trying to unite people from different servers is hard because the way they play is just different. Then a specific example of, or at least something close to this, is the attempts that there were at making international tournaments. For example, the .NET Classic worlds that were made under Jojo. I do think the idea is great, and we should all thank him for his effort on making the game good for all of us. Sadly, not too much success a lot of the times, but also not his fault most of the times. So, in those rounds, you always had a big problem. That was, it was all about representing your own country, which is great, but it never allowed, or it rarely allowed, for any type of, I don't even know, creating community there, because you would have like players from Brazil, for example, you'd have players from France, you'd have players from whatever. Like those players would all just be inherently enemies, or most of the times would be, and they would rarely even talk to one another. You are not necessarily creating a community like this, you are just having split different communities playing there, which is great for an event like this, but if you really want to merge everything and put everyone all in the same place, a lot of players will not have those pre-made people that they're friends with, and they might just be thrown onto something that they don't even fully understand. So I really do think that it really is hard to sort of make the community converge in any way. And what I've done now is where I talk about my own attempt doing this. What I've done here in my server, my idea was to have a section like this one that I have for PT for every server, and I at a point did. But the reality is, UK, D, yes, there was one for each category, but I deleted the others because there literally was no talking in all of them, in pretty much all of them, yeah. The idea was really good, I believe. There was just not enough interest at all, which is something that completely kills any attempt at making a community. If you want to make a community, you need players, you need activity. And, well, while I do think this is the best idea to handle it, to do it, that is also what they did on the .NET server now, and it has not been the most successful at all. But I have multiple reasons for that. One of the biggest reasons is that people already have their own communities. This came way too late. For example, there's the UK. There's the UK server. There's the, I don't know, what else is there? There's the FR server. There's a DE server. PT community server. These may not even be hosted by InnoGames themselves. Most aren't. Especially on PT, for example, when representatives of InnoGames as a support actually tries to make a community, they basically were just censoring everyone left and right, so people couldn't even talk, and people just keep on using this server, even though it's quite simple. It works well enough for them, and that can be said about most servers. This for Swiss, this one is just not very active, but Swiss is small as well, the Swiss server, and there's more. I think there used to be more, at least. There used to be the Spanish server, there used to be the Dutch server. I think those were both deleted with the community managers being kicked out. So those do not exist anymore. And for those cases, they have been the ones where it has been more successful. The transition onto the .NET server, which we will look at now. If you look at the .NET server, only these first server, all these first things come from the .NET server. I think you have to have the .NET permission to access these, but these announcements, this is what I was talking about, everyone has access to these announcements, and well, they are not necessarily only seen by .NET players, which is a problem because people are getting notified twice if they have announcements on for different events and announcements. But let's scroll through this. I have all of the permissions. For that you have to go here. You can see channels and roles, and you can browse through channels and you can see which ones you don't. I don't have these, but this is the Nordic servers, the ones that are merged with .NET. Like, there isn't much conversation here. You can see it was active 10 days ago, the other was a month ago. I now opened the chat. There's some talk here, but these are all people who also talk about things just on the .NET server channels, so it doesn't really change much. I think I have everything else. I don't have the worlds from Turkey. That's what I don't have. Let me see. But we can look at those quickly as well. Yes, I don't have the worlds from Turkey. But you can see active a month ago, active 7 days ago, active 9 days ago, a day ago. This one seems to be the most active. People actually are chatting on this one, and it's just people seeing the maps. So it's not exactly active. It's just people checking for the stats. So there's just a really big fail at making community here, sadly. And that's generally in every market. The NL server might be one of the most active ones. There's more talk here, which is great. I'm glad at least one worked. I'm not sure this is more active than the previous .nl server. I highly doubt it though. I would expect the previous server to have been more active than this, because, well, it was all the players needed, and here it might still be, but it's just more confusing. There's the announcement chats, there's all those things, and it makes it more confusing for people who don't use Discord frequently. The UK community has these announcements and has some world chats, but people have not really talked here for more than 15 days even. Here it's just the community manager messaging. This is Jojo as well, a community manager, just talking to a random player. If you go look at the UK OG community, there's more talking here generally, or was. If I go to general, I'm sure there's more talking. Yeah, there's a bit more. So basically, the community is split in two, and people will not leave this server because it's their OG server. They have their entire history here. Doesn't make much sense merging into another one. DE as well. DE is basically fully dead, apart from this main chat that has also not had anything be said in 3 days, because they also have the DE server. This one is, I'm sure, much widely used. Let's see. Worlds active hours ago. These are a lot of shots. Then I don't know. It seems quite dead as well. Maybe people on DE just used the forum a bit more. But here you can see it's way more active. A few hours ago active. Then the server here. The French server also exists. This is not much conversation goes on here. The Arabic server seems to be one that, I mean, it never had a Discord server, I think, of their own, and now it at least has this. So it's a win, but it's like no one ever really said anything here. CZ, not sure. They seem to have some conversations, which is nice. US is fully dead. There's no new messages. HU is also fully dead. GR also fully dead. There's people, not even GR people. Well, the general idea that I want to show you here is that most people just did not move to Discord, and those who did are not even talking on it because each server already had their own Discord server. So it's really hard for them to now just merge it all. And I would say the community is less active now than it was even when the server was just of the net server. Because if I go to the general chat, I mean, I can see a lot of people talking here. Most of it is just jerky, to be honest. He's online all the time and interacting, which is great for a community manager, for sure. Although they rarely talk about the game at all. But they at least talk, yeah, it's good. But then, if you look at special things like the event that I talked about, the live, you can see the shot here, the outcome of the live stream of the Q&A, and a lot of it is just basically, well, nothing. Basically nothing. There were a few interactions here, a few people asking some bigger questions, but in general, I do feel like this was, by the way, a lot of like mods interacting, which shouldn't really count. But there was less interaction than there was on mine and Goose's original podcast that we did about speeds. Speeds. Let me see if I can find podcast Goose Tribal Wars. I don't know if I will find anything. Tribal Wars Speed podcast. Exactly, here. It does seem like there was much more interaction on this one than there was at all on this one. I mean, here you had messages every like minute or so, close to that. In here, in this one, it wasn't exactly like that. It was like that at times, but also very inactive at others. This is during like a live talk, but it all happens. I'm not sure how many people they had watching live. It would be cool to know, but it's not like we even had a lot of people watching here. We had like 30, sometimes a bit more, and in general, this was much more productive because people were actually interacting. I don't think I mean, I'm not sure if they were even interacting on the Q&A. The Q&A was not exactly a real Q&A. They just picked up questions from the forum of each server, and then they even made a summary of the Q&A. If you go to .net or any, I think they published this on every market, but they opened the topic regarding the Ask a Dev. Where is, yes, Q&A session. Where's the Discord Q&A? Here. Here. They even made a full-on summary. I mean, I'm not even sure if it is a summary of the Q&A session, because if it is a summary, well, that would make sense. But these are just questions and answers, and I think that is how they did it. I think the session didn't even last for very long. So it seems like the session was made to just, as if it was like a video, and less as if it was an interaction thing, which is what a Q&A should be about, I believe. And it, in general, just seems like it was less frequented than our little podcast here. So, yeah, even less people were commenting and asking questions, which is sad. I do believe more could be done, because they pushed this really hard. They sent messages in game. They put out topics in the forum, and it still was quite underwhelming, the result of this. And in general, just the entire result of what's going on in this server. Most of it is just moderators of their own servers having fun. I mean, if I look at PT and BR, you will clearly see that. Let me look at it here, for example. PT, let's see the general. A lot of it is just people of the support. These greens are people of the support. The other guys are just spamming gifs. It's not much here. And there's no discussion whatsoever for the world specifically. Basically. It's gifs and people from support messaging only. So this is all very quiet, right? Meanwhile, if I go look at the actual PT community, which is a place that is not censored at all, it's much more active, it's much more messages. These worlds are old, there's obviously not much going on here. So, it's different, it's clearly different. These are all messages even from today at 9 AM. It's 10, people talk here, people actually talk here. So there is a community. They just did a fairly poor job at actually make it international in any way, because they didn't try to make an international community here. I think I would be happier if the real execution of this would be to make a Discord server for each one of the servers, as has been the case, right? As has been the case. But then you would have a representative of each server in this international server, and in the international server is where you would post things like future tournaments, stuff like that. But I don't think they plan on ever doing tournaments again, so in the end, I don't see why that would even be something they would think about doing. But yeah, that's my rant. I'm not sure if there is much more I could talk about here. This is all I had. But yeah, I hope this was entertaining. Just looking at the prospects of an international community, why it would be great, why it is necessary, and the fact that it until now has been a complete fail to do so, basically. But yeah, that's been about it from me. I will see you on the next one, which will be one of these. I don't know which it will be, but you will find out. Bye bye guys, see ya.